Hey, happy anniversary, baby. Guess what? I'm going in my third year. I just celebrated my second anniversary of this show. My name is Tom Russell. I'm your host with Life Without Limits, and I am so excited about what's up and coming, and particularly tonight's guest. I'm with Donna Wales. We will introduce her shortly, but it's been an incredible ride, folks. And every Monday, I always look forward to being on this show because we are impacting lives, and not so much about what I talk about, but it's more about what my guests talk about, life's challenges that people overcome, so many different events in their lives to be champions of their destiny. And man, there's nothing better than that. So let's go towards a third year that's going to change lives, that's going to impact lives, it's going to uh, make our existence something special. And tonight is no different. And before I bring on Donna, I want to talk about what I want to do with this show. I have like a 2 month backlog of guests for my show because I've had a lot of people who are interested in sharing their story. But I encourage anybody who has listened to my show and they think they have a story to tell, please don't hesitate to go to my website, lifewithoutlimitsshow.com. That's lifewithoutlimitsshow.com. And just email me and tell me your story, and then hopefully we can connect, and we'd be able to, man, just share something that someone else might be going through that they need to hear the story. And also, along with that, on that website, lifewithoutlimitsshow.com, if you want to be a fan of my show, there are three tiers. You can, if you want to be a partner and be a fan of my show, you can put forth maybe $1 or two, or you want to get a digital copy of my book. That's the second tier. And the third tier is you can get a T-shirt and a digital copy of my book, and I'm really proud of that. And also, if you want to order my books, that's fine too. And also, I do speaking engagements too. So if there's anybody who wants to do a Zoom meeting with anybody, I would love to do with children, as because my I shouldn't say expertise, but my involvement with bullying, anti-bullying, is well documented, and I want to make sure that I'm able to help out as many people as possible. So you can email me if you'd like, and then hopefully we can connect. So let's get that out of the way, and let's move forward. And my guest tonight, I've been talking with Donna for a little bit, and she's from Rhode Island. And Donna, thank you. I appreciate you coming on my show.
Thanks for having me. It's great to talk to you.
Yeah, I know we were just kind of we haven't talked in a while, and I've always wondered because I schedule these shows a month and a half in advance, and then we have not connect. So I'm really grateful that we're able to do this. So excuse me. So what I want to go over with is Donna's bio. We're going to be talking about domestic abuse, and I've covered that subject matter a little bit here, but I think her story is kind of resonates with this topic. But her bio reads like this: she's a Christian wife, mom, speaker, teacher, and domestic abuse survivor whose personal experiences, conversational style, and life lessons inspire audiences to heal and to help others find hope. When not writing or teaching, Donna likes to create scrapbooks full of happy memories. And I think that's a lost art, isn't it, Donna?
It absolutely is.
It absolutely is. And she now lives in Rhode Island, like I told you, with her amazing husband, daughter, four spoiled bunnies, and Skittles the cat. How did you get the name Skittles?
My daughter picked it out. The cat is hers, and so she liked Skittles, and the cat's name is Skittles now.
Yeah, we've had cats. We've had cats named like Oreo and Gizmo and Diamond
Yes.
and you name it. So it always seems to have a food theme for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why, but
Yes, absolutely.
all right. So like I said, we're gonna talk about domestic abuse, but in order to do this, we need to paint the picture of what's your vision of, when you're a young person, and you were thinking about what it would be like to be married. But you grew up in a Christian family, so I'd imagine when you tried to get in any kind of relationship, your hope was your significant other would carry the same Christian values. Is that what happened for you?
That is what happened. So as a teenager, we now I'm going to date myself for I hope I don't, but basically the idea is that um, I was raised in a very small conservative community. The town in upstate New York had more cows than people. And so um, basically we're told that, that you should aspire to be a wife and a mom, and, you could have a career too, but, this was kind of your goal in life. And so I was looking for someone who was going to be taller than me, which was not terrible because I'm 5'3", and so, taller than me. Their hair had to be shorter than mine, and they had to be willing to share my Christian values. And so that's what I was looking for. And I took a job teaching at a Christian school in Hawaii, and that's where I met. I call him Dirk in the book, but that's where I met him. We met at a church picnic in Hawaii because that's where I thought, church, I would meet someone that would have the same values as I did.
And what I've when you get in those situations where you think you've found the right person, at what point do you feel like you feel like you didn't make the right decision?
So I wondered about making the right decision, and honestly, when I was in college, so I went to a Christian college, Christian university, and this guy that I had been dating, something happened and we didn't go out anymore, but he called me like right before Christmas break and said, God told me in a dream that I was supposed to marry you. And I thought, you're a weirdo. And so my response was, well, I would think that God would tell me the same thing, but he didn't. So, lose my number, basically. And I thought, there has to be something different, right? Not this God gave him a dream that we're supposed to be married, but the church that I was in was really pushing the courtship, right? So you don't date a bunch of people, you date like one person to see if they're going to be marriage material, and then you date the next person. And I wasn't sure, but that was kind of the expected, right? You're dating this person, you're going to explore the idea of marriage with them, and it was all very exciting and, oh, good for you, and it was expected rather than kind of a more of what we would think about today as dating.
Now, I know that I'm a male, so I remember what it was like to try to do whatever I could to get in the best graces of the person I was with. When you were going through the dating relationship and everything, was he trying to do and say things that try to get on your good side?
Oh, absolutely. So I was living in Hawaii as a school teacher, and I had my own little condo, and he brought a whole bunch of groceries and things over. He was going to make me dinner, and he made spaghetti and the garlic bread and the salad and the whole, and he put all the food on our plates, and then he brought it out to the living room because my apartment was a studio and there no dining room table or any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so and he tipped my plate a little bit too far, and the spaghetti fell off onto the floor. And it was a light gray carpet, and he was so embarrassed. And so we spent the next few minutes cleaning spaghetti and spaghetti sauce and trying to get the stain out of the carpet. And then he got me another plate, and we had dinner, and it was very nice. We had dinner and we watched a movie, and it was very sweet. And we went out for ice cream. One of our first dates was hiking, and as we were hiking the trail, it was a dry, and we're hiking up into the mountains in Hawaii, and I slipped, basically. It was dry, it was a rock, and my foot just slipped off, and I fell down. And so as I'm picking myself up and brushing myself off, he was laughing at me. And while he was laughing at me, he turned around to, haha, you fell down. And when he turned back around to face the front, a stick poked him in the forehead. And then, so now we were both embarrassed, and it was just, just silly, kind of having fun, hanging out, and those kinds of things. And so we had a lot of fun. We talked, we laughed, we, hung out and got to know one another. But that didn't turn out to be the person that he was years later.
Well, it probably didn't help. He was in the Navy. He was like gone 6 to 9 months out of the year. How were you able to handle that situation?
Well, my friends, the fellow wives, because at that point there weren't women on submarines, so the Navy wives would get together and have different gatherings, and not really parties or celebrations, but the different things. And so that was the way that we really made a tight-knit community and helped each other out through all of those things. That's where I learned to scrapbook, actually. We would get together on a Friday or Saturday night, and we'd have a few drinks, and we'd talk about cards and the things that were going on in our lives, and it was just nice to get together. And so when he was gone for a while, and then eventually my friends would say things like, you're a different person when he's not around. You're so much more relaxed, or it seems like you're happier when he's not around. But I didn't notice that at first, and I kind of dismissed it.
So what happened when he came home? What was your relationship like? Because I know being away for so long, it's like you're kind of reimagining a married life again, and just trying to get to know each other one more time. Did it get better, or when did it start getting worse when he kept coming back?
So at first it was good. It was like dating all over again, so honeymoon, and let's do picnics, and and all these things. And then there was one time that he went out for a 6-month deployment, and I got a call saying that there was no need to worry, but they had taken him to the Navy hospital in Guam, but everything was fine. He just, he had lost a lot of weight, and they wanted to have him checked out. But he really changed after that, and I don't know what happened, but when he came back, he was very much more sullen and more paranoid, and just not the person that I remembered. And I thought that it had to be because of whatever illness that he got when he was out deployed on the submarine.
Was he a jealous type?
So he was, hindsight being what it is. I went to lunch before we got married with an old friend from college. the college I went to was very strict, and we sat in alphabetical order. And, this was the guy who sat with me through all my accounting and teacher classes because our last names started with the same letter. And so we had lunch, and he must have called 5 or 6 times, and he was really upset, and I was betraying him and all these things. And I thought, it's just lunch with an old friend. We're in public. It's not like we're doing anything. And so finally I said, look, I can't talk right now. I need to, we're just having lunch. I will talk with you after this. And when I got back to my friend's house where he was hanging out with the other couple that we would go out with and double date sometimes, my friend's mom took me into her bedroom and she said, I don't know what you have done, but he is crying and he is just beside himself. You need to apologize and fix this. And I thought, I just had lunch with an old friend. I don't know that there's anything that I need to apologize for. We're not married, and I'm not, there's nothing bad about this. And so, but the Bible says to be kind and to forgive. And so I apologized. I'm sorry that your feelings were hurt, and I didn't think anything more of it. But that should have been a red flag.
Well, but at the time you didn't think so. I mean, was he violent then, or just
he
it was
wasn't.
more emotional?
It was just that emotional, clingy, right? Just the need to know where I was all the time and what I was doing, and at first I thought it was just very sweet. It's very sweet because, oh, how nice, he cares about me so much. He wants to know where I am and what I'm doing, and he's just interested. But that turned out to be very controlling later.
Now, because you have a strong faith. You have a strong faith for all of your life. The Bible always says you need to be submissive, but realistically, that's difficult. I know in a marriage that's difficult to navigate. How did you reconcile with that?
Well, some of the teaching that I had growing up was that the husband is the absolute authority in the family, and I had to justify that with the fact that, okay, but he's gone, and sometimes his decisions aren't so rational, right? Because when he would come into port from being out on the submarine, there's money in our bank account, but there are bills to pay, right? There's the electric bill and the rent and all of these things. And so I would have to say, look, you can spend this amount, but please don't spend like the rent money. And there were times when he got awfully close to spending more than what I thought we could afford. And so it was one of those, wait, but if he's supposed to be the leader of the house or whatever, how is this, so that didn't really work in my mind.
So when does things start to get violent?
So just about our first anniversary, we had gone to visit his mom, and we were watching, we had decorated the Christmas tree. It was right about Christmas, and I had gotten up, and trying to be polite, I asked if anybody wanted something from the kitchen because I was going to go get some water. And as I turned to leave the living room to go into the little kitchen, he tripped me on purpose, and I fell, and I hurt my tailbone, and I started to cry, and he was pointing and laughing at me. And I just looked at him like, you hurt me. And I said to him, you hurt me. And he said, yeah, but you should have seen your face. And I said, but you hurt me. right? And the tears are coming down my face because my tailbone hurt. And he pulled me over onto his lap and he said, but it was really funny. It was just a joke. And I said, it's not funny and you hurt me. And so I went into the bathroom and kind of recomposed myself and I, to the kitchen. And I woke up the next morning and, showering, it's like, ow, that hurts. And there was a big bruise on my tailbone from where I landed on the floor. But he never said another word. I was just supposed to understand that it was a joke and it was all supposed to be funny.
So it sounded like it wasn't out of anger then, right? It was more of an impulsive thing?
Yeah, it was. But then there were times when it was just the idea that he was bigger than me and he could control me, right? Mm-hmm. So he would grab my arm and wrestle me and tickle me and hold me down, and that was, and that was fun for him, and at first I thought, oh, whatever, but after a while it wasn't fun, and I'm saying no and he's saying, but it doesn't matter because I own you, basically. And so it went from the more innocent joking, you just don't understand, to I own you.
Did those words come out of a mouth, or is that just an implication?
No, there were times that he actually left bruises on my neck and my chest as marks to prove that he owned me.
Well, yeah, I guess I can understand that now. You said that you decided you wanted to go to pastor and tell him what was going on, but your husband found out and he was furious for you telling the pastor what was going on in the marriage. What happened with that?
So it was a Sunday morning service, and I really felt like I needed to pray up at the altar, to spend some time just praying at the altar. So I went forward, and the pastor met me there, and the minister prayed with me, and I didn't think anything more about it until he called my husband into his office after everyone had left the building. And I don't know what he said for an hour to my husband, but when they came out, Dirk was furious. I mean, I could see his face was white and his fists were clenched. And he looked at me and he kind of growled, "Get in the car, we're leaving." And then as we got in, he said, "Buckle up." And he just basically spun the tires, throwing the gravel in the church parking lot to squeal the tires to get us out of there. And then I'm holding on to the handles of the car, the door handle and the seat. My hands were literally, my knuckles were white holding on because he's driving. It was 20 minutes from our house, from our apartment to the church. And I think he made it in 10 because he was going 80 or 90 miles an hour. And then he would slow down and go 20 and he would slam on the brakes and say, "That's what you get for embarrassing me." And he berated me this whole trip. And so we got to the apartment, he parked the car, and I ran out of the car and I went into our bedroom and locked the door. And I remember throwing myself on the bed thinking one of my favorite Bible verses from Psalm 121, "I will lift up my eyes from to the hills. My help comes from God who made those hills," is the idea there. And I prayed, "God, I hope you can help me because I'll never go to another person again. It's too dangerous. I'll never live."
Now, I'm listening to this, and I've talked to a lot of domestic abuse victims, and the question always comes up to me is, you've gone through this number of different occasions. Why did you decide that after you were with them for 12 years? Why would you decide that it is important for you to try to stay in the marriage?
Well, it goes back to the idea that I was taught growing up in the Christian realm back then that God hates divorce and there's no reason, there's never any reason for divorce. And so I had to come to the place where it was Valentine's Day and Dirk and I had gone out to a restaurant And our relationship was terrible at that point. He was barely speaking to me, and then when he did, it was just to either demand sex of me or food or just, whatever it was. I was there to serve him. And in my own mind, trying to logic through this, I saw 3 different ways that this could go. One, we had a baby. She was about a year, not quite a year and a half old. And I had let my teaching certificate lapse because we had planned for me to stay home with her until she went to kindergarten, and then I would get a job again. And then I would teach again when she was at school. So my teaching certificate had lapsed, so I didn't have a job, and it was going to take about a year to take the classes in Washington State that I needed to take to be able to teach again. So my thoughts were, let's wait a year for me to save some money of my own, take the classes, and get a job, and I can support myself. Then we wouldn't be a burden to him, was the idea. And then the second one was we could get counseling and we could try to fix this. Or the third one was we could just divorce and call it quits because this is not working. And he was furious that I would say such a thing and give him this ultimatum on Valentine's Day. And I didn't see anything about that was an ultimatum. That was just logic. Those are the 3 things that we could do. We could work it out. We could wait until I had some money saved to get my own place and be financially stable, or we could just call it quits now. And that was just unforgivable to him.
And then the worst situation happened. Can you talk to me about what happened?
Sure. So I had been volunteering with teaching newer Navy spouses, men and women, about the culture of the Navy because we had been married for a while. And, it does make a difference, those bars that the officers and the enlisted wear on their collars and their shoulders. And they expect to be treated with respect. And there's a whole bunch of things that just go along with the military culture. And so I had volunteered with some friends of mine to teach seminars on how to read your pay stub and all the different things that go along with living with a military member. And I came home from doing that to find that a lot of my belongings were gone. And I didn't know where they had been. They had, where did they go? And then there were 2 piles of things in my house. Things that I was allowed to keep and things that Dirk was taking because I didn't deserve them anymore. And I had left him sleeping because he had stayed up late playing computer games the night before. And I couldn't believe that I wasn't allowed to have my own things like jewelry or underwear or even like the shower scrubs and that kind of thing. And I'm just in disbelief. And so I could see him walking, pacing back and forth. He was obviously agitated. And so I called my friend Rhonda that I had set up as a just in case number, right? She was my emergency contact, and she had the numbers to call for the military police or for the authorities to come if I needed help. And I didn't think I would ever need help, but on this day I did. So just as I had turned my back to him, he grabbed me from behind, on the back of my neck and my left arm, and he picked me up and took me about the 3 or 4 steps to our second floor apartment door. And he opened the metal door, the storm door, but there was still the screen door there, and he slammed my body into the screen door repeatedly. And he was 6'4" and like 250 pounds, and I am 5'3" and not. And so he just picked me up and he's just slamming my body into the door. finally my hand went through the screen and I was able to pull it back through and hit the latch so that I could get out the door. But I don't remember hitting any of the stairs between the door and the bottom step. And I remember praying, thank you, God, for your angels carrying me down those concrete stairs, because I promise you I did not touch one stair between the door and the bottom.
Did he follow you, or what happened there?
He smashed, I could hear a couple more things smashing in our house, and then I ran over to the trash enclosure where they keep all the trash cans in this little fenced area, and I was hiding behind a trash can inside that fence because I thought that he was going to come after me. But instead he came out with the car keys, and he was going to take my car, and I didn't deserve anything. He deserved everything for putting up with me. And he was going to leave. And I got a little brave at that point, and I said, well, what if the baby needs to go to the doctor? And he said, fine. And he threw my keys off into the weeds and went up and got his truck keys, and then he stormed off. And I could hear the wheels just spin and, the burn rubber sound, and he was gone.
What were you thinking at that point? Was that's the last straw? I can't do this anymore. Did you feel that way?
Absolutely. It was I can't, this is terrible. And so my friend Rhonda, and I don't know how I did it, but somehow I had my phone up to my ear the entire time, and I could hear Rhonda talking to the 911 operators, the police operators, saying that I'm hearing domestic violence, I'm hearing a woman being hurt, you need to get there quickly. And to me, Rhonda was saying, look, they're going to be there any minute now. And so after I watched him peel out and speed away, I went back up to the apartment and checked on the baby. She was still sleeping. And I remember the ambulance and the police officers, the military police, coming in, and their first question was, do you think he tried to kill you?
Mm. And what did you say?
I said no, because I had never considered that before. You think about this person that you love, that you have, spent all this time with. Well, they would never try to kill me. But later, when I was talking with the detectives who were investigating this whole situation, basically they came to the conclusion that he absolutely did try to kill me. Mm. And they told me that when they arrested him, after he had assaulted me, because that's what they called it, so after he had assaulted me, he actually took himself out to dinner. He went to see a movie. Oh, but he went to the bank first and drained our bank account. Mm-hmm. Right? So then he took himself to dinner and he went to a movie. And when they arrested him, going back onto the base to our apartment, he told the arresting officers that if he found me, he would finish the job.
Wow.
And they believed him.
And so what happened then? Was he arrested then, or what?
He was arrested. He got probation because the judge said that he didn't hurt me badly enough. I only had bruises. I wasn't, no broken bones or anything. And it was just horrendous. And
that's ludicrous. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm looking at it's not the physical right. Characteristics. What happens? It's up here. It's in the head. How it affects you emotionally. And
absolutely.
I don't think any judge should have any right to say something like that. That's just me. I'm sorry.
No, it was absolutely crazy. And then my domestic violence advocate, and she was amazing. So I had gone to counseling through the Navy Counseling Center, through the Navy Family Service Center, and they were really, really helpful when my church was not. And I don't think that the pastor meant to be harmful. I want to say he had good intentions. He just didn't know how to deal with the severity of the situation. And the domestic violence victim advocate was so good, and she listened to me, and she met me and literally held my hand as we sat in court for restraining orders and all the things. And that was so helpful. I just couldn't tell you how much that meant to me to have someone who was willing to help me stay safe, because he was stalking me. He was harassing any of my friends that would, even people who would admit to being my friends at that point. I was just a crazy wife who had gone off the deep end.
And then you went to your pastor, and that did not go well. In fact, that's how you came to name your book the way it was.
Absolutely. He wasn't the pastor. He was the head. He was like the head elder of the church.
Okay.
So I went to his house because he had helped me before. He and his wife had us over for dinner, family game night and cooking and all these things. And so I went there when I needed a place to stay because, well, my soon-to-be ex-husband was stalking me and harassing me, and I needed a place that would be safe to stay with my baby. And when I got there, something was different this time, right? I could tell because he met me at the door, and he kind of stood with his arm across the door, where normally he would just welcome me in and, there's pie or whatever, and can I get you some tea or something? But he didn't. He said, I said, we need help. And he said, he's dangerous. And I said, I know, I have bruises. And he said, but we've helped you all we can, but, we'll pray for you. And I thought, I was just dumbfounded. Like, these people who had been my friend for so long, or I thought were my friends, were now just saying, well, we'll pray for you. And I thought, prayer is good, and I'm not going to say that it's not, but I could use a change of clothes because I can't get into my apartment without 3 military police officers escorting me.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to pat down every cushion and open every closet and every drawer and even the refrigerator to make sure that he hadn't set any traps to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
So even when I wanted clean clothes, I had to call the military police to escort me to my house. So I didn't have very many clothes. I was living out of a suitcase. My baby was about 1.5 years old. I could have used a box of diapers or a hug and a cup of tea or a safe place to stay. But I'll pray for you just didn't cut it, and I didn't know what to do after that.
Now this is something that with the faith that you have,
Mm-hmm.
Donna, it's strong. But I mean, at that breaking point, did you feel like God had abandoned you at that point?
I did. All the people who were supposed to be Christian, right? All those people that I had depended on, and that inner circle of Christian people were all gone. And I ended up staying with an older couple, Alice and her husband, and people didn't praise them for how Christian they are. And their daughter was about the same age as me, but she had a teenage son and she wasn't married. And so people the church people, and I feel bad now because I was one of those church people, kind of looked down their noses at her. And yet those were the people who took me in and hid my car under a tarp in their barn so that my soon-to-be ex-husband wouldn't find it. And those were the people who were the most Christian and helpful and kind and compassionate, rather than, oh, he's dangerous and, we'll pray for you.
So you were able to remove yourself from the situation. Obviously, you left the marriage and everything, and you had to repair your life. So what did you end up doing as far as trying to heal yourself?
Well, I spent some time in counseling, but I also spent a lot of time just thinking about who I was. There's one time that was standing in the kitchen of the little house that my daughter and I had a little trailer, and after we left, and basically I remember standing in the kitchen going, I wonder what I'm going to make for dinner. Hey, I can have squash for dinner. No one's going to yell at me for making food that smells bad. I can make onions, or I can put garlic in it, and so it was a brave new world. And then when I was thinking about food, I thought, what's my favorite color? What's my favorite food? I have a whole new life to discover who I am now. And I got a job teaching at the local public school, and I really liked it. I just get a chance now to be a whole new person, and the ideas of your husband you should be submissive and all those things. My husband now and I have this the 100-100 proposition. We both are all in, and this is how we live now. But
what does that mean? What does that mean?
What does that mean? That means that we are determined to see the best in each other, and we give our relationship 100%. So we have date night, and we have this. It's sort of it's really a rule, but basically anything over $200, we have to check with the other person. So you can spend up to $200, $250, no problem. But if we're talking about spending $1,000 or something, then you need to consult. And so it's the idea of being there for the other person. So if I'm tired after I come home from a long day at school or at work, he makes dinner. And if he's had a bad day, I'm making dinner that night, or, and those kinds of things, that we actually do things for one another, not because we have to, but because we choose to make that other person a priority.
That's got to be refreshing, to be in a relationship where you have that kind of trust, and you don't have to worry, look behind your back, see what if there's a hand coming towards you, right?
Absolutely. In fact, there's still emotional baggage and emotional scars, and every now and then we step into one. We like to make our own, living in Rhode Island, I have a little garden out back, and so we make our own tomato sauce and different things like that. And so I didn't see him come up behind me, and he smacked the wooden spoon to get all the debris off on the sink. And that noise and coming up behind me really quick just kind of was a trigger. And I ran off to the bathroom and, kind of try to breathe and compose, and realize that, that was the fight or flight response, and I'm safe, and this is, kind of calm myself down. And I could hear him knock gently on the bathroom door and say, "Are you okay?" And I said, and I sniffled, "Yes, I'm okay." And he said, "Well, let me know when you're ready to come out." And I came out, and he hugged me, and he had tears in his eyes too. And he said, "I'll never hurt you." And I said, "I know, I just, so there are, it was just the baggage is still there, but it's nice to have someone who understands and is willing to try not to step into those things."
I totally agree. I always made that my lifelong goal, never do anything to my wife that her ex-husband did to her. So now we only got a few minutes here, but you were able to step out of your comfort zone. You decided to write your book. Tell me about your book.
So my book talks about how it starts out with me finding myself in this horrible situation, having to call the military police to go feed my cats. And it ends with, and then it chronicles kind of how I met my ex-husband, and then all of the horrors of just being married and the abuse and all that. But really, I wanted to share the hope of the escape from domestic violence, because my life is so much better now, and I get to share my story with other people, and some of the people who have read my book have left some awesome reviews saying, your book helped me, reminded me that there are second chances, and that, there are happy endings, and the idea that we don't have to stay stuck in a bad spot, that God, and it's been a lot of work. God is gracious, and God has given me all of these things, but it's a lot of work, and he expects us to, kind of work ourselves into this happy ending. Talking about faith with showing our faith by what we do. And so I can't say that it wasn't hard, but it has been well worth it. And my daughter is now 16, and she loves my husband to death.
Good.
This June will be 10 years that we've been married, and it's just amazing.
Now, what's the name of your book, and how can people find it?
So my book is called I'll Pray For You. And it's Barnes and Noble, Amazon, all of the other, just all the other outlets, Walmart, online. But my website is authordwayles.org, and you can also order it from there.
And that's author Dwayles, if anybody's looking for that.
Yes.
I can understand what you went through. And I'm looking at you, Donna, and by the way, that's my mom's name, so it really has a great attachment to me. But I'm looking at you, and it's like I see, like, you're relaxed, and the smile coming from is genuine.
Absolutely.
And to recall your story over and over and over again, I'm sure it has to have affect you personally inside every time you do this. But is it easier each time you talk about it?
It is, but it isn't. I have chosen, it's that conscious choice, and I love the name of your podcast, Life Without Limits, because it has been my choice not to be limited by being a domestic violence victim.
Right.
That's one of the things that I am, but I'm also an author, and I'm a speaker, and I'm a mom, and I love to travel, and all these other things that I choose not to be defined by just that label. And I choose to be happy in spite of the things that have happened to me.
And that's why I had you on my show, because I like a good ending to a story that could have been traumatic, and things that could have been worse. Is there anything else you'd like to
add? So there are, like, here in the U.S., we have the National Domestic Violence Victims Hotline, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's always someone to talk to. They also have it on the internet. But what I really like about that website is that when my ex-husband was tracking all the things that I did on my phone and my computer, that website has a quick exit, and it takes the little cookie right out of your internet browser, so it's not even there that you ever visited it. So that's, so just a little tip there for.
Oh, good. I wish we had more time to do this. And I only have a few more seconds, and thank you again for coming on my show, Donna. I really appreciate that. And as I end all my shows, I want everyone to smile infectiously, laugh genuinely, love unconditionally, live courageously. I believe in all of you. So have a great week, folks.
Awesome.